And we've described you in the first 5 minutes of this episode, but you're not sure what it's going to take to be successful, I would hedge my bets that you've got what it takes to step out and say, okay, I'm ready to go again.
Do you have a fear of success? In my work with businesses and successful people of many stages, I began to notice that successful people know what success looks and feels like. Successful people know what they have been willing to give up so far for their success. Yet they have a fear of doing it again because they know even if they consider themselves risk takers, the work that will have to go into a potential new journey to reach their level of success and beyond again may be more than they are willing to handle at any moment. This is what has led me to develop the series Fear of Success.
My work with men helps them discover the mirror is their biggest competition. And the old me can't make decisions based on my old success journey. You never walk through the same river twice. Personally, I had this clarity when I started doing CrossFit. I was in my 50s when I began. The competition wasn't the 28-year-old in the gym. It wasn't the former Ironman. It was to be better than the man in the mirror the day before. It was about showing up, about putting in the effort, and it was about the journey. It was not about the destination. Often we make the mistake of destination addiction, thinking things will be different or better when. It is not about the destination. It is all about the journey. What affects us in our personal lives often isn't a problem at work. We make work a refuge. What affects us at work might not be a problem in our personal lives. But problems in either of these areas can bleed into the other. Very typically, I work with men who are incredibly successful, crush it in every aspect of their life until they walk through the door at home. Throughout this series, we will address some of the underlying issues men and women don't realize are a common thread between work and home. It isn't always comfortable. This work is uncomfortable. It is not uncommon for me to have a man tear up during coaching sessions. This work is hard and necessary for everyone, even the most successful.
Fear of success is different from fear of failure. Fear of failure is that you won't succeed. Fear of success is what you traded in order to have success. It's fear of an unknown path. Those that fear success embrace failure.
Creating connection in this journey crosses paths in our lives that if we don't address in business, can affect our personal lives and vice versa. I know personally my greatest assets are the connection and relationships I have with other brothers and women. As coaches, we are on a journey of discovery just like our clients, and this series will hopefully help you down a path of discovery in your lives. I'm Dennis Collins, owner and founder of Man of Legacy, and co-founder of Mentoring Men, an online men's community.
I'm Kat Fry, owner and founder of Oxygen Coaching Group. This 4-part series is broken into energy, business, fear, and a live session. Each session can be listened to in small pieces or all together. As coaches, we look forward to hearing how this series helps you along your success path. Welcome to the Fear of Success series.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This is section 2 of our Fear of Success series. And today we're going to focus on business and how the business side of success will kind of center around whether we're willing to risk again and what that looks and feels like. So we're going to once again, say welcome to Dennis Collins for participating in this series and jump right in to how this will affect both our business and our personal lives. So welcome back, Dennis. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Kat.
All right. When we notice clients are having a fear of success, one of the commonalities is that they make decisions as if they're in the same stage of life as they were when they started their success journey way back in the day. Like they slid down a game of Chutes and Ladders almost, and they have to like begin again, right? It was a great game when I was a kid. I loved that one. What would you say to someone who you have identified is in a bad game of Chutes and Ladders and maybe doesn't even realize it yet?
You know, it's interesting because it's very common. And the reality is, we never walk through the same river twice. We're a different person. The river itself is different. And I think we have those, well, what'll happen if I'm successful? You know, what if things change? But we can't live a stagnant life. And if we just try to, and I look at it as, if you want to play it safe, and what you're doing is existing, not living, not thriving. And living and thriving looks like doing, striving, taking risk, because that's where all the fun stuff comes from, you know. And didn't you have fun the first time?
Well, you know, it's funny because I think that there's a lot of us who look back and maybe they didn't have fun the first time. You know,
Might have
for
been
me,
survival.
yeah, for me, I know I speak very fondly fondly and often about my dad and the success that my dad had. My dad was, for those of you who are new to my channel, my dad was a very successful entrepreneur, and I work very hard to follow a lot of the things that he did and that he taught me. But success cost him marriages, time with his children, uh, money. You know, there was a lot of things that maybe I don't even know it cost him. In my own life, cost me my marriage, cost me a lot of time with my kids. My kids are very fortunate and I have great relationships with them now, but success doesn't come free for anyone.
No.
So I think that when we look at what it takes to be successful, and then for a lot of people, what it takes to decide, do you want to embark on another journey of success? That might be one of the bigger hindrances that holds you back. I know what I gave up to get here. What will it cost me to go again?
What will it cost you to not go again? Now, again, you've got the wisdom from the first time, the lessons learned, and if you're feeling called for another venture or adventure, because that's what it is, what does it cost you to not try? How long have you been an entrepreneur, Kat? When was your first business? How old were you?
I was 19. I was married with a baby, a mortgage, and a tax ID number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
I
anything?
I think that that's really probably the most relevant thing. I think we explain it as a pendulum, and it can be described in a lot of different ways in business and even in your personal life. But an object in motion stays in motion unless acted on by another force. For those of us who have seen success, and I think that's probably where you were going before I cut you off. Yeah, I've been doing this since I was 19. Even when I was working for someone else for periods of time, I still ran that portfolio like it was my own business. And I don't know a whole lot of people who have owned their own business that even if they sell it for a crap ton of money, or they go and decide, okay, we're going to close it, or maybe the pandemic shut their business down because it no longer functioned in the current environment, right? They still have got this like tiny side hustle. They're still looking to consult. they still have got this little tiny, almost like a sand module in an oyster, and they're still looking to make it, because it's that constant motion of what am I going to do next. I think what we're talking about here in this series is how big of a swing are you going to put in that pendulum to? And what is it? I think it's, Dennis, to me, it's a mindset. And who are you going to put yourself around that's willing to encourage you? I coached a client yesterday who this series is literally fantastic for, of course. And I said to him, give yourself some grace. You got yourself here through tons of adversity. I mean, exponential amounts of adversity for this client. And his answer to me was, yet I know I have to remain humble. True. Which one, who do we know that shouldn't remain humble as we should, right? But I also think, which I said to him, we need those people around us who can say, yes, but I'm proud of you. You did a great job. Yes, we see you. And that's that piece of community that I think we all need so desperately.
Well, and you mentioned the selling the business. If you look at and did a study of everyone who sold the business for 7 or 8 figures or more, the ones that I'm free, I'm done, they enjoy that doing nothing for 3 to 6 months, and then they become miserable. And then they're like, I need my next thing. There is a company in town here, and the guy sold the business, and it must have had a 2-year non-compete, because all of a sudden he's got a new business being built. It's being built out. It's the same business he was doing before, but it's a slightly different name. And I'm like, okay, he couldn't sit around. That's human nature. You're right. We've got to be in motion. And the reality is, I had a client the beginning of the week. He's in this looking to go to do something different. The business provides, it's no longer challenging. And we talk because he's looking as an either or. And it's and. If you can do it now with one arm tied behind your back, you need a good number 2. You don't have to sell it or dispose of it while you look at a new division or you look at your next thing, because he has people that are relying on the other company too. A lot of people who are not business owners don't understand how important it is to a business owner that is providing livelihood for a team. That is as important to them as the business itself, because you're putting food on their table. You're paying for mortgages. Their kids go into school. How could you not be proud of that? Yeah, you need to be humble, but I've talked to some business owners. They talk about their teams first. It's not about how much money they make. It's about what great people work for them. And I think we need to. It's not an either or. A lot of times it's and.
Both
You
and.
just had an acquisition. You didn't shut down your existing business. You acquired, and it's an and. And it just means you get to have some excitement because you have something new. And something new requires different focus, attention, and energy.
It's always, I just told someone this the other day, and for people who are listening that ask this question, I will rat you out if you do this. Don't do this. This is like another pet peeve of mine, waitresses who ask, do they need change? This is almost as bad. When I talk about my team on a podcast, when I'm being interviewed, and someone says to me, who is we? Inferring that I have co-owners. It's the biggest tell. I don't have co-owners. It's mine. But I would never speak of my team like they are less than, or that I am more than something without them. You got to have that team mentality. And I think for people who aren't humble they wouldn't have the success that they have now, that get to this point. They don't give themselves enough grace. So if you have figured out in your head, hey, this is me, they're talking about me, I would never speak of myself like this. My team, they're my people. I'm not sure. And we've described you in the first 5 minutes of this episode, but you're not sure what it's going to take to be successful. I would hedge my bets that you've got what it takes to step out and say, okay, I'm ready to go. Maybe with the help of a coach, not even an advertisement for you and I, but it's the head trash that's holding you back, because that is the recipe for success on a second level.
Think about negative self-talk.
Oh,
We talk to ourselves, and I don't do this anymore, I want to be clear, but in the ways most people talk to themselves, they wouldn't allow any other human being to talk to them like that.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's, again, getting those mindset shifts. Oh, I'm such a loser, I'm a failure. No, you're not. and the fact that you're concerned about things and you're worried about the people working for you and things like that tells me you're a good leader. Kat, my first boss after college was Tim Farr. And we did something, we were at the top statistically in our department, company-wide, and there was some bigwig in congratulating him, and he went, "It's not me, my team." That lesson stuck with me, because we had another manager in that office. It was, look what I did, look what I did. And they had turnover insane in that department because that person had issues. And I had a boss that he just passed the credit down, and he took the blame when things didn't go well, but he always passed the credit down. It isn't me, it's my team. And I've been fortunate. I can count a few bosses like that. I've had a few good ones over the years when I've not been self-employed. And the worst part about those bosses is you have to work harder for them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ever disappoint or lose respect in their eyes.
Yeah, I think that if you haven't watched this series in a sequential order, it would be a good point right now to go back and listen to the energy series, because I think that what we were talking about in the energy series here is that's the natural transition. How do you feel about the position that you're in, even at work or even in that relationship with another person? Because that's the check-in that we referred to in the energy series.
Yes,
about being
point.
Around other people. If you are feeling like, hey, this is it, right? I'm watching this Fear of Success series because I think it's relevant to me. One of the things that I always tell people, or I describe a situation to, is called put a shark in your tank. And I love this story. When I heard it, I actually heard it quite a few years ago, and I'm still talking about it. So it rang true for me. It was a story about a very high-end restaurant in New York serving seafood. And obviously there is not any kind of seafood organically in New York City. So they were flying it from the West Coast to New York City. And by the time it would get to New York City, the fish that was supposed to be in a live tank was dead. And no one could figure out why, in a matter of hours, all of the fish were going from the West Coast to New York City and would be dead that fast. And what they discovered was, if they put a shark in the tank, that not all of the fish would be alive when they got to them, but a whole lot more of them were. And it proved that they needed that fight or flight instinct to continue swimming. If they just
Get
put them
them
in
to
the
move.
yeah, if they just put them in a tank, they would in essence drown. Right. So in the real world application, we need a little bit of competition. We need people around us that are going to push and really encourage us to get out of our box, out of our comfort zone. As my boyfriend tells me all the time, get out of your comfort zone. And and I think that it is extremely applicable to those of us who think, man, I'm tired, right? Like, I'm done working this dang hard. But we also know we want something bigger. And what are we willing to do to put a shark in our tank?
It's true. And you made me think of a quote by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate.
Mhm.
Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, and it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And that's the quote where everyone stops. And it goes on, though. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, courageous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us, and not just some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. They
Liberated
always
from
do
our
that
own fear.
first part, huh?
Liberated from our own fear.
Our own fear. And they always read that first little part about, but the whole quote is beautiful because it goes right to what we're talking about in this series, liberating ourselves from our fear. Well, what if? And you and I know what percentage of the things that people are afraid of actually happen. It's like a dot in a giant circle, but we put all our energy on the what if it goes even better than you thought.
Yeah. So I will tell you another great story about my dad. For those of you who don't know me, I talk about my dad a lot. He's a really good guy. So my dad used to 9 years. My dad has been gone for 9 years. So even 9 years ago, cash was still a thing. My dad would pay cash when we would all go out to dinner, and he would jingle the change in his pocket. So 9 years ago, I still had little people around my house, and he would ask my kids if they wanted to trade whatever they had in their hand. So we're talking tooth fairy money at this point in their lives, or if they were allowed to pay the bill. Maybe Papa still had other money in his pocket, if they wanted to trade. For little kids, this is a big deal because Papa potentially had whatever he in his pocket could be significant. And sometimes they didn't want to trade. Like the $2 bill that came from the tooth fairy was kind of a big deal around our house. But, it could have been, who knows? He was teaching a couple things. Are you worried about what's going on? What happens if you lose? Risk. And my children now, 10, 11, 12, 13 years later, my children have such that fear is so small. Yet as adults, we blow it so far out of proportion. And I wish I would have been the one that was wise enough I feel like once I have grandkids, I feel like I'm going to walk around jingling change in my pocket just to make my, manifest what my dad was doing. But if we thought of it that simple, if our grandfather was walking around jingling change, would I jingle that? Would I trade what I have for potentially the change sound in my dad's pocket? It's hard to talk yourself out of that.
I see this with people that are looking at changing jobs.
Mm.
I talked with a man this week, and I have been blessed with being downsized a handful of times. A couple of companies went out of business. When I was building my previous career, I chose jobs that helped me on the next step on building my career. Sometimes that meant taking a job that maybe the company had a little bit of some challenges, but it was what I needed next. And I've come to learn from a lot of observations, 60% of the people end up doing just as good in the next job. Fully 30 to 35% do far better. but they're afraid. Most people are afraid to let go of what they have in their hand to reach out and take the bundle of money or the opportunity. And then there is that small percentage that do struggle, but they were struggling before, probably should have been let go, or they weren't happy. There's a lot of other issues there, but I have seen over 2 decades of this now, the majority do 95% plus do as good or better, some significantly better, but almost all of them have the fear. And then when there's a downsizing, they don't get the option of not looking outside and looking to improve or take a chance or to take on a new business venture. They have no choice. And this is how the results seem to play out consistently. So it's when you can overcome that fear, because I'm willing to bet your dad had more than $4 in his pocket every time he offered the trade for the $2 bill.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Every time those kids won, every time they were Papa's like little champions. It's funny. The pandemic, I think, did that for a lot of people. And we
Yes.
saw this not just in people who lost their jobs, but companies who didn't want to go virtual. So I worked for Verizon for quite a few years selling Zoom as technology. That companies were like, oh, that won't ever go anywhere. Never. How's that working for y'all now? Okay. But now no one wanted to embrace it. Then all of a sudden, stubborn, by the way, it's most of the people watching this series, stubborn entrepreneurs who did not think that Zoom was ever going to do anything good for their company, ever, never, ever. How's that working for y'all? Boom. It made us let go of the shore and see what was on the other side, right? I think that we're intrinsically ingrained in what has worked. We've got this belief wheel, again, on our YouTube channel, if you really want to go digging, that if we don't break the belief, get a different result, it's just going to continue that crazy momentum. And, the funny thing is, I've heard you talk about some pretty controversial things on your YouTube channel. One of them we're going to talk about here in just a second, but that's that belief wheel. This is what I believe. And until I see something different, I'm never going to get a different result. What do we expect? We have gone through that as a society, in your business, in your personal lives. We know this, but until we get ourselves in a situation, predominantly by the people we surround ourselves with, whether it be your coach, the person that you're currently in a relationship with, how you allow your children to treat you, your friends, your drinking buddies, your girlfriends that you go to book club with, whatever that looks like for you, until you change the people that you're around, or all the people in those groups, it's really not going to get any better for you.
No. And, I hadn't even thought about this as we've done all the prep. I'm a part-time entertainer. I'm retiring from that this year.
You're really going to have to decode that, because there's a lot of places that could go for you, Dennis.
So I'm a balloon artist.
There we go.
And I will send you a picture of some of my work that you can post up at this point right now.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And I worked at a restaurant for 11 years. You like your dad, I was a cash guy.
Yeah.
And when I went into full-time coaching, I finally realized, one, I don't want to talk to people on Friday night. Nobody wants to talk to me, on a Friday night about relationship problems. And I needed the Tuesday night. And I was like, I have clients who would like to talk on Tuesday night. I retired from the restaurant work, 11 years. I had this huge following, same restaurant. It was fun. That was actually a big risk. And I did that in the fall. And then the following spring, the world changed as we know it. We did a retreat, had a sold out retreat. And the following week, the world shut down. And that restaurant gig I had that I retired from and taking the risk, There was no restaurant gig. The entire entertainment industry got shut down for the type of stuff I do. I started I was not a Zoom guy. I started my weekly Saturday morning coffee and conversation group Zoom coaching call, coming up on 3 years now, next month.
Congratulations.
And it's a blast. And we're seeing the numbers grow, but I was forced into I made one change where I looked at it and I'm like, I need to do this for what I'm doing the rest of my life. And then the balloons got taken away from me. And quite honestly, I learned just how much that was part of me. And then I'm leaving on my terms now because the balloons are interfering with my full-time coaching business, because I can't go to a men's meetup if I have a contract, because I put my name down saying I will be here for this event. And now I retired from 30 years in safety to be a full-time coach, and I'm retiring from the balloons. And I don't look at it as a risk. And even with the safety, I was certified, had all this stuff I needed to have. I let it all go. I didn't keep it in retirement status. I just said, I'm done that part of my life. I haven't regretted it one moment, because all of my energy is moving forward and focus forward. There is no option to fail. I burned my ships.
I don't know that we'd give that advice, Dennis. So
I don't know.
Because I think that what you and I now at a place, and again, we're two coaches talking to you. So the mindset that we have, we get tons of repetition and exercise from. So what I always want to preface to people listening here is we didn't get this way overnight. We have tons of repetition of working with clients, and what takes a client time to do, we do that multiple times a day. So be graceful and patient with yourself. I'll give this example of what happened at the end of 2022. One of the questions that we posed on our LinkedIn profile for some of our business owners to start in a discussion was, what qualities do the communities that you want to be in possess? At the end of the year, I'm not a big resolution person, but I do think that there's a reset that we allow ourselves in with a new year. So if you're going to choose to be in a community, what do the qualities of those communities possess? Well, my very wise and loving communities that I host turned that around on me and asked me what I thought they should do. God love them.
Good for them.
They're good students, Dennis. I tell you, they're good students. And it's great, because that was a wonderful tool that they all did to me. And I think that in being able to answer that for them, the answer is, I don't want to be in communities where I'm always the big fish, where I'm always the one that has an opinion. And little did they know we were going through a large acquisition and purchasing an organization and taking on a pretty significant risk. So good on them. But I also want to know what the people around me or that want coaching from me, what is it like to be you? What do you experience? Because I'm not God. Please, Lord, don't think I'm God. I don't have all the answers. A lot of times I'm here to facilitate what you need, not give you what I would do. And there's a big difference when you run into or bump into coaches out there, because I think coaching is a buzzword right now, that want to tell you what to do. And neither you nor I are like that. So I will confidently say this is not what's going on here. But how can we get you to think outside the box? How can we get you to think, man, who is the shark in my tank? What do the communities look like that I'm in? Who is casting judgment on me that I shouldn't be taking that judgment? Or how do the people that I'm listening to, maybe even today, host a community that will help me decide, yeah, that's a level of success I want, or no, I really do not belong there right now based on my current situation?
Our job is to help them get clarity. Yeah, it's funny because we don't ever tell anyone what to do. We ask questions and we get them to figure out, oh, this is next. And I've had some clients that in the first conversation with every fiber of my being, I really want to go, you need to divorce her. That's not my job.
Right.
And I walk them through figuring out what they need to do. Just because, and this is the exception, there's a lot of it depends with any personal situation, but there's every now and then, if the roles are reversed and you were talking to a woman, you'd be like, you need to divorce him. But we can't say that because it's not ours to tell them what to do. And then they figure it out. But you sometimes have to go through the uncomfortableness of the journey, of the growth, to get to the point to understand what is best for you, even if it's not what you wanted or signed up for, it's what you need to do. And it's interesting because I never give the burn the boats advice. I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. You bring that boat as close to the dock as you can. You work that side hustle until it's getting too busy, then you make the switch. Now, I did that part-time as a coach for a couple of years, and then I realized, nope, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I had no doubt and was loving it. It didn't feel like work. And for me, it was like, I'm never going back to the other because I know what my mission is. But you're right. It's about helping people get the clarity so they know what they need to do next and that they're good with it, even if they don't like it. Sometimes they don't like the decision, but they are at peace with it.
I think that one of the things, and I promised we would talk about this during the business session, so we're going to talk about it because it's controversial and deals with every business owner that I know. And I think from both contractual standpoint and then from the personal standpoint that Dennis likes to live in, the thing that business owners don't give themselves credit for once they've reached a level of success is the knowledge that they have and how wide and expansive what they know, how it will apply to other things. So there's your tee up. Dennis and I got on a pretty interesting topic regarding prenups at one point. He starts to laugh. And just how they apply. And for those of you who do or don't know, I'm a very happily divorced woman. And it's, while people think it's a very, oh my gosh, that hellish word, there's also this very contractual piece that when we started building the talk for today in regards to business, prenup is a contract. And by the way, extremely applicable for those of us who have very successful businesses. And it's not anything that we should all be shying away from. However, everybody goes, oh God, no, not that. And we're all extremely capable of writing them to the extent that they are comfortable and applicable.
So the acquisition you just went through.
Yeah.
How much paperwork was involved in inches?
Very little.
Okay. But at least
Dennis,
10
I'll tell you
pages.
what my daughter said to me after this. My daughter has been kind of overseeing in a portion of this. She goes, you're scary and I don't ever want to negotiate anything with you ever again because you always get what you want. I said, okay, that's good. Don't you ever forget that.
But there was a legal document.
Yeah.
And I just finished my series on prenups. The last one dropped today. And I think I said in that, I know I said in one of it, my last conversation with the prenup with Melanie, we were naked in bed.
I'm so proud of that, Dennis.
I am, because most people, they get anxiety, their chest gets tight. And again, you talk about feeling the energy, you could feel that change. But I'm a man who was allergic to marriage. Oh, I'm deathly allergic to shellfish, and I was to marriage. And now I have found, because of everything I've been through, and all the negatives and all the pain and all the work I've done. Now I found somebody and I'm like, holy crap. I'm not allergic to marriage, but I'm also not willing to let a judge take what I've been building my whole life. And again, I have my coaching practice. I'm one of the founders of Mentoring Men. Nobody is going to get that just because I said I do. And people get really uncomfortable at the thought of prenups. And it is just a contract saying, if something goes wrong, this is how that will be unwound. It actually gives you some security because, we don't have to waste tens of thousands in legal fees. It's all spelled out. And again, you need an attorney to draw it up. But there's only 5 things that I'm going to address in mine,
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that there's so many facets, and there's no like template that yours has to be in a certain way. But for people who are successful, if this is something that is a concern for you, you have so much contractual knowledge getting to the level of success that you're in. Apply it and do what works for you. When we were having this discussion off camera, we also have a succession plan. We all do. Dennis does, his significant other does. I do, because I have multiple children. My dad did. Most people do. So it's not just this one tiny thing. And I think if you have reached a level of success, what is directly applicable to this conversation is you have this amazing experience. We are our own combination of education, experience, and opinions. And they kind of make this triangle. If you try to take one of those legs of the triangle away, what happens? You're nothing but a straight line. Yeah. And so use them, and so that you feel comfortable enough and can elevate yourself to the next level of success. You don't have to take, if any one of these things is holding you back, which, by the way, we hear all the time that it is the reason why people hold back, which is why we're addressing them. Reach out and let some of us help you, or get yourself in a group of people who are comfortable having the conversations with you to move on, because great success is out there.
And it's not comfortable to talk about that. Well, why you're creating that belief? And when we did the last video, I asked her, how long ago was it I first brought it up? She's like a year. So once I realized 2 years into the relationship, this is something special, and I was becoming less allergic, I was like, hey, just so you know, if it ever goes here, hey,
you've been desensitized. You've been desensitized, Dennis.
Yes. Yeah. But I still remember. And quite honestly, I'm like, I can't afford to lose half my retirement at it's about to be 58. And I'm not willing to, but I have somebody I love. And it is a way to address this issue so that it's clear and there's no miscommunication. You both have clarity. And it is, and for anyone who's thinking, oh my gosh, it means you're preparing for the marriage to fail, or you don't think it's going to survive. No, it's so you both have clarity. And
I will say this too, because this is, I'm not really sure why, Dennis. I'm hoping you're not manifesting anything weird in my life, but I've had 2 women bring this topic up to me, which I think is also more rare, that the topic come from the female perspective recently. And it's becoming less rare. I think that for the generations that are in the workforce currently, it's becoming more common. And if that gives you some kind of solace, great. But for women who have reached a level of success, it's okay if you want it too. Again, it's not some like boilerplate template that you have to do. Do what works for you. And
I'm pretty sure in the video, especially since I was doing it with Melanie, I'm like, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
If you are a female business owner, why would you, if all the blood, sweat, and tears you put into building this beautiful business, let some judge give half of it to anyone?
To Melanie's credit too, I loved in your last video when she said, I have a son, right? That's that feminine energy coming wide open.
Yeah.
I didn't watch our first set of videos. Make sure you'll kind of try to watch these in some sequence. Melanie's comment, she has a child. And for those of you with that strong feminine protection piece for your children, another great topic. Kudos to your other half. She slayed it with that one. So
yeah. But again, there's things in there. It's not one side. See, that's the other thing, is Hollywood makes it this one-sided dramatic thing. It's like, no, because you have to have a give and take in there for it to be legally binding. And I want to make sure she's taken care of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have some things I want my son to get.
Right.
And all it is outlining what our desires and intentions are. And, she had to sign a roommate agreement before she moved in.
Okay, Sheldon Cooper. Good
No,
Lord.
mine's one page.
Oh gosh.
It's it. Not even a full page. No. But here's the thing. You know what else it said in there? It said, in the event that she has to move out, the relationship ends, she would get X number of months to find a new place to live so that she isn't thrown out on the street, which you can't do legally, but it isn't morally right. It doesn't sit well with me. And I wanted to give her security, but I've never given a key to my house to anyone, and she's moved in. And no, I'm not as bad as Sheldon. Simple document just saying that she is living here now.
I'm impressed.
All right, enough of prenup conversation. What challenge do we want to put forth for everyone to do now?
That's a good question. I think that based on the conversation we've had today, let's do a question for the comments.
Okay.
Let's say, if you're comfortable, you can put it in the comments, head to hand. Tell us in the comments of the video, what do you need next? Think about what you've got going on, the conversations that we've had today. And what if I asked you face to face, would you tell me you need next? We've got some great communities participating, Dennis's community, the Oxygen community. So if you drop it in the comments, you never know, you might get what you're asking for. So go ahead and pop it in the comments and we'll see what we can add value to.
And you 100% don't get anything you don't ask for. And we've seen it in our communities where somebody's like, oh, I'm looking for this, or I need that. And literally people are like, I sent you a PM. And next thing you know, the ball is rolling.
Yeah. Don't you love that? It's kind of my fill up my love cup as a coach when we see that kind of networking and connection happen. I also think that this is a little bit of the business side of fear of success. Do I have a fear of speaking it into existence? And almost, do I have the ability to manifest this? So don't have to think too crazy, but do tell us, what do you think you need next?
Love it. All right. So we should see dozens upon dozens or hundreds of comments down below.
Well, you know what, Dennis, I'm telling you, I'm willing to jump on and comment back to all of them. And I'm sure you will too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right.
All right. So for those of you who have listened in and feel like this business series has really kind of like rung your bell, and this is kind of what you've got going on, whether that be for what's happening next or you're currently in your success journey, tell us, Dennis, how they can reach out to you and chat with you more, or they need prenup advice.
Prenup advice, see your attorney.
Yes.
Who specializes in it. So I'm at Man of Legacy on YouTube, and my email address is denniscollins@manoflegacy.org if you want to reach out.
Okay, fantastic. And then you can reach the Oxygen team at Oxygen Coaching on YouTube or info@oxygencoachinggroup.com. And for those of you who are following this series, on April 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, Dennis and I will be live on YouTube to answer any of your questions about the Fear of Success series and chat a little bit further about any of the loose ends that we have left dangling that you want to know about. So You can follow the channels. We will be talking on our next session about fear itself and how that is impacting all of the things about our lives. Feel free to comment in the comment section about how you felt about today's video, and we will see you guys on the next series. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, folks.